How's it going, folks? Doing another best ball draft here. We are doing the Drafters 50K contest. So we're drafting a 12-man league for that. And this is a huge GPP with a $50,000 prize pool. And this one's running weeks 1 through 16 total points. I know some of you guys probably did last year's contests on draft, and they ran like weeks 1 through 13. You were in your own division. If you won your division, you won some money. Then you moved on, got put in another division, and then the very last week you got put into a giant GPP for the grand prize. Well, this one's all season long, weeks 1 through 16 total points, and they're paying out 15% of the prize, or 15% of the players in this one. So that's not too bad. If you have a pretty good team, you got a shot at making some money. Looks like we got spot 7 here, which is not the best. So likely be targeting like a Dalvin Cook, Devontae Adams. Probably not going to bother with Derrick Henry with this being full PPR, even though he finished like 4th or something in full PPR last year. Spot 7, I might even take a shot on Miles Sanders just because of this type of contest. So we'll see how that goes. A few other things of note is last video I made, I had mentioned that I was fading Mark Andrews for the time being because of his diabetes situation. Didn't know if there's some chance he could opt out. And those worries are no more because he came out and said that he is planning on playing and he will not be opting out. So he's a full go for me now. I'm taking him exactly where I normally would around round 4 to round 5 in these. And nothing too much to worry about there. I was fading him until I heard some sort of news just because of that situation. I didn't want to be stuck with a 4th rounder that just wasn't playing. And like I said in the other video, is now that we want some of them, we can just take them a whole bunch and get our ownership percentage right back up to at least with the field, if not over, if we want to. So that's why you fade in those early situations. Wow, Derrick Henry went 3rd. I guess we won't have to worry about taking him 7th. That guy has 27 entries. That just took Derrick Henry 3rd. That's interesting. So at the top here, you can see how many entries each person has into these contests. So I had 10 in the other contest. This is my first one in this contest. So one thing that will be different about this one, wow, we're either going to get a shot at Michael Thomas, Dalvin Cook, Devontae Adams. Well, I'm going to go ahead and take Dalvin Cook here, even though I know that there's the holdout possibility just because this is GPP, trying to finish first out of all these people. Really hard to do if you're not just shooting for ceiling all the time. So now that we've taken Dalvin Cook, we're absolutely not going to take Alexander Mattison on this team. He'll go early enough that it's not a big deal. He'll go around 10 or 11. So it won't really put us in a tough spot making a choice like that anyway. But I have a bunch of Mattison shares in the other GPP, and I'll get some in this too. But I do not want to have them on the same team I have Dalvin Cook in. So I don't want to turn my 1st round pick and my 10th or 11th round pick into one thing. I need those to be 2 separate things that both can reach their upsides, right? So we definitely do not want to be handcuffing in these type of tournaments at all. Travis Kelce at 12, a little interesting. Tyreek at 11. This drafts went a little different than the last bunch I've done, so 12-13, double taking Kittle and Kelce. I think that is absolutely horrible in this format. So you're not actually playing in your division. So you're not playing against your league mates. You're playing against everyone. So you're not denying your opponent's tight end by taking 2 at the turn like that. So it might be okay, it's not a strategy I even like in the normals where you're playing against your league mates here. But in this one, we're not playing against our league mates. We're playing against everyone. So doing what that guy did at the turn by taking Kelce and Kittle is just really, really bad. So yeah, you're not getting a position denial by doing that in this format at all. Let's keep that in mind. So it looks like we're going to have, our choice of kind of whatever we want between running back, Lamar, or a wide receiver. Obviously, we could take Mahomes too, but Mahomes actually did go already. So at least the guy who took Mahomes this early has Mahomes and Tyreek Hill. I like that. It was Julio. So we're not going to take Hopkins. I'm not going to take Lamar this early. Could take Chubb. I do like him a bit more than Aaron Jones in this format. I know Chubb struggled a bit last year when Hunt was there, but the way they've revamped their O-line and the coaching change, I'm still pretty high on Chubb for this year, so I'm going to go ahead and take him. Kind of would have liked Josh Jacobs to make it to me here because I like him a bit more. But so this is a 12-teamer. It's nice to start off with 2 running backs. It's not like 100% necessary. But I mean, once Julio Jones goes off the board, he's the last tier 1 wide receiver for me anyway. So once he goes, I'm just not interested in taking a wide receiver in round 2. I mean, maybe at the very end there. So a couple other things to talk about. Kelvin Harmon tore his ACL, which really isn't that big because he wasn't high on our radar for this, but does affect Steve Sims quite a bit. I already liked him a decent amount, but now I really, really like Steve Sims, especially since I don't think you're going to see some crazy jump in his ADP. You might, but I'd expect maybe around, probably less. Oh, and the COVID announcement was made on how the NFL is going to handle that. So you're going to be out for 3 weeks if you test positive for COVID, which is a week longer than I expected and a week longer than anyone I was reading seemed to have expected. So yeah, we're looking at 3 weeks out if you test positive for COVID. So in my opinion, that solidifies what I already was doing for my roster construction, which is 3 quarterbacks, 6 running backs, 8 wide receivers, and 3 tight ends. There's absolutely no way I'm only taking 2 quarterbacks or 2 tight ends when COVID can knock a guy out for 3 weeks. It's just not happening. So I feel like you have to have 3 quarterbacks and 3 tight ends with this season with what's going on. And, these are 20 rounds now, not 18. So we have the luxury of still getting 6 running backs and 8 wide receivers. I make sure none of my quarterbacks have the same bye week. None of my tight ends have the same bye week. And only a maximum of 2 running backs or 2 wide receivers that have the same bye week. So you can have 4 between them, but only 2 running backs, only 2 wide receivers that have the exact same bye week. So kind of pay attention here to who I might be picking. Definitely hope DJ Moore drops. Let's see what happens here. Bit of a tough spot if he goes. Might be looking at Leonard Fournette, which does not excite me that much. Zach Ertz is quite good in this full PPR format. Or I could go down to my next wide receiver, who for me is either A.J. Brown or Adam Thielen. Could pick a different running back that's not Leonard Fournette. Don't really want to do that. All right, this is a tough one, but I'm just going to go ahead and take Fournette and be pretty unhappy about that pick. That was the value that fell to us. It's kind of unfortunate. So the nice thing about that is now we really don't have to worry about running back for quite some time. This does have a flex, so you're starting a quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, tight end, and a flex every week in this. It's full PPR. Now, a lot of people like to say I'm only starting those positions. If you watch my videos, I say I'm starting everyone. Everybody on your team plays every week, so you want as many players that can score points as possible. Meaning, you don't want handcuffs, you don't want super deep dart throw wide receivers unless, you get to the point where you have no other choice, which will come in these. So we should get really, really good value at wide receiver in the next few rounds. So it's not that terrible that Fournette, came to us. He's not a guy I have that high on ownership percentage on anyway, but I just hate Leonard Fournette like we all do. I don't think there's anyone out there other than maybe Michelle from the Ball Blastum podcast that likes Leonard Fournette. So I'm interested in wide receivers or Zach Ertz. I like Ertz more than Andrews in this format just because of the full PPR, but that's definitely my tier 1 for, tier 2, I guess. The top 4 tight ends I'm very, very interested in. And after that, I'm not interested in a tight end for quite a while. I'll talk about that a little bit more after I make this pick. I like these. I think these guys are making pretty good picks here with like Gurley, Carson, Connor, Melvin Gordon. Yeah, see, the running back run is really hitting hard. There goes Mark Andrews. So my very last tight end of the big 4 is Zach Ertz on the board. I like him quite a bit in full PPR. I do understand there's reasons to think he would regress a bit, but I don't think Alshon Jeffrey is going to be ready for the year. Deshaun Jackson gets hurt a lot. Jalen Reagor's a rookie. Yeah, sure, Goddard is going to cut in there some, but he's been there this whole time. So let's go ahead and just take Zach Ertz. I think it's a pretty nice to get him at tight end here, especially since somebody grabbed 2 top tight ends early. So you might see a little bit of a pinch for tight end as people start reaching for their first one a little bit sooner in this league. I wasn't like thrilled with any of the wide receiver values, but like all those guys that just went off are fine. Like it would have been fine to take a Kupp, Chark, Woods. I think I would have had Chark first to that group. But so we also want to keep in mind when we be stacking. So we want to try to match up some of our tight ends and wide receivers with our quarterbacks, and we want a maximum of 2 targets for your quarterback, because we saw last year when we did some research that there is a negative win percentage correlation once you get past 2 targets. So you want to keep it to 2 and try to get 2 if you can, but you don't have to like start doing crazy things. Don't mess up your bye week, restrictions because of that. Don't start taking guys like crazy out of their tier because you are trying to stack, but you got to keep stacking in mind, especially for this GPP type. You need those max ceiling weeks. So getting back to the tight end. So if I had missed out on the big 4, I was going to fade tight end for quite a while and then probably try to snag Dallas Goedert because I think he is the highest ceiling tight end of the non-big 4. Like obviously an Ertz injury probably has to happen for him to hit his ceiling, but his ceiling is just so massive in my opinion that it's worth it. And last year when I was writing for Big Dogs Fantasy, we had a 0 tight end strategy best ball article that I wrote. So I'll try to link that in this video at the bottom. And in this one, we were trying to get Goddard, and then we were trying to get 2 players from these 3 groups. So like 1 from group 1 and 1 from group 2, or 1 from group 1 and group 3, or 1 from 2 and 3 to go with Goddard. And if you followed my videos last year, I luckily ended up with 43% Mark Andrews, which was my actual highest owned player, which obviously worked out very well. And I had huge percentages on round 18, Will Dissly and Darren Waller. And even though Dissly got hurt pretty early, he still ended up, being worth a pick in round 18. And I was hammering Waller in round 18 as well, but, he started to creep up as the summer went on and into August. He was going in, around 15, 16. So I was still getting a good bit of him there, but not as much as I was when he was around 18 pick. All right, so we still got some pretty good wide receivers on the board here. Let's just switch over and take a look at that. Definitely take a Courtland Sutton, Diggs, Keenan Allen, all good choices. Like Parker quite a bit too, but I don't like to block by week 11 super early if I can avoid it. So it's kind of between Keenan Allen and Courtland Sutton for me. I don't have a single share of Keenan Allen, so I'm going to go ahead and take one. I definitely have some Suttons, but do not even have one Keenan Allen share, so let's get that. So I don't love taking Devontae Parker super early, although I do have some ownership on him, just because there's so many good value receivers that are by week 11. And including his teammate Preston Williams, who goes super, super late, is so far later than he should. Once I'm into round 6, I start considering quarterbacks that are not Lamar and Mahomes. But the only quarterback I'm going to consider taking when it gets to my pick is Dak Prescott, if he's still there. Because he's my quarterback 3, kind of with a bullet. Like, he's a hard 3 for me. He's not in tier 1 because it's hard to put him in tier 1 with those other 2 guys, although he did finish second last year. But, Mahomes also was injured, and I think we expect him to have a much better year this year. But for me, I'm just not taking Kyler Murray over Dak. Like, Kyler Murray is great. I understand the hype, but he was pretty much horrific once Kenyon Drake started to come on. Watson is, fine. We've seen him dominate. I prefer Watson even to Kyler, but that's like a closer discussion. So when it gets to me, I'm going to be considering between wide receiver and Dak Prescott. Unless Dak already went when I wasn't paying attention here. Nope, he hasn't. Sometimes when I'm talking, I'll miss some of the people going off the board, which isn't the best thing, but the price you pay for making a video, I suppose. Let's take a look at wide receiver real quick, see if we've got any great values. We've got Parker's my number 1. I like Tyler Boyd quite a bit. There's a bunch of decent guys. I really like Marvin Jones, but I'd probably have to wait around on that. It's going to be really hard to stack anyone with Prescott if we get him, because Gallup will probably go before we get to pick again after that. Some of the rookie RBs are going a bit earlier than I expected. That might be for this tournament. Like, Dobbins is probably a much better pick for this type of tournament than he is for a regular best ball league. So there's no wide receiver that I super feel like, man, I've got to get him on this list. There's a bunch of dudes I like, but I really think that just taking Dak Prescott's the right choice here. So I'm going to go ahead and take my QB3 right here. So it's going to be tough with Dak. He's one of the harder quarterbacks to stack, because you have to have already had Amari Cooper to get Cooper, right? Because he goes before Dak. Then Gallup usually goes before you can pick again when you get Dak. And then you're left with CeeDee Lamb and Jarwin, who are medium picks. David Montgomery in round 6 is all right. I like the Kareem Hunt pick too. Guys, it's a good spot for all these guys to be going. Montgomery doesn't excite me too much in this format. Those floor guys, it's going to be really hard to win this tournament, which is what you really want to be shooting for. So we got to keep in mind, I have 2 bye week 7 running backs already, which takes Darrington Evans out of the equation for this draft, which sucks because he's one of my favorite late round running backs. The reason why I like him so much is, you get that PPR. He's going to have a couple weeks where he's got a nice week floor. He's going to sneak in there for you. But also, something happens with Derrick Henry, it's going to be all him. See, Gallup went off. So we're going to be forced to reach on CeeDee Lamb if we want to stack him. It's the one thing I don't like about Dak in round 6, but I also think he's just too much better than the other quarterbacks the fact that you're missing on stacking him as easily and as well it's worth it, because I just think he's much better than them as far as this year fantasy points goes. Doesn't mean I think he's a better quarterback necessarily than them, but I think Dallas is going to be in a lot of shootouts. I think their weapons are insane, and at least you can usually get Jarwin with them. We'll see if we can get CeeDee Lamb. I have a feeling that's not something I'm going to be looking to do this round, though it could be. It's just not going to be something I'm going to be looking to do this round unless something crazy happens. My favorite wide receiver on the board at the moment is Marvin Jones. Tyler Boyd is also pretty close there with him. Not an AJ Green guy. Over his last 16 games, Marvin Jones had more fantasy points than AJ Green had in his last full season. Like the last time AJ Green played 16 full games, Marvin Jones beat that his last 16 games. Also, the last 16 games, Marvin Jones and Kenny Golladay have both been in the lineup together. Marvin Jones outscored Kenny Golladay in those 16 games. So he's one incredible value I really, really like here. See if we get snaked on him. I'm still not too concerned about trying to grab another running back just yet because we got the 3 right off the bat. We kind of got stuck with Leonard Fournette, but that will happen. It won't happen often, I'll tell you that. So I'm just going to go ahead and take Marvin Jones here. So we want to keep in mind, that opens up Stafford for a stack option. See if there comes a point where it makes sense for us to get Stafford. We've still got Carson Wentz as a stack option with Ertz. So like I said, we're not going too wild about these stacks, but we do need to keep it in mind. I am going to have a website at some point this summer up with best ball specific rankings, links to these videos, and some strategy articles like Zero Tight End. I'm going to have a wide receiver flowchart up on there so that you can look through and see how I think the wide receivers are going to end up on their teams as far as projections, like who's going to be the best through third best. Some of these teams it's tough, and you're going to end up having to have a few wild card guys in there because there just is not going to be enough wide receivers to go around when you're doing 20 rounds of 12 teams. So I'm going to have kind of a special thing where it's like I'm ranking the top 3 or whatever, and then also giving you a couple wild card choices. I'm not necessarily going to try to rank those against each other because it's going to be too difficult. And some teams might only have one wild card guy. That's going to be kind of something you're looking for in the very last round when you're like, holy crap, there's no one left. What do I do? So another thing we want to keep in mind is there's 3 QB situations I'm trying to completely avoid. And that is Miami, the Chargers, and the Bears right now. I don't want any QB on my team who's not going to play who's not going to play all 16 weeks because of some sort of split that we can predict, right? A lot of things can happen and this guy or that guy could lose a job. But that's not something we can predict. I feel like it's pretty predictable that at the moment we're assuming Tyrod and Fitzmagic are going to start week 1 for their teams, but we don't know when they could lose their job, and it could literally be any time. So because of that, I don't want to mess with Miami or the Chargers quarterback situations. So for a third quarterback, we're going to try to wait as long as we can and still get a guy that has a different bye week than Dak, plus whoever our second quarterback is. So you really want to wait on your third quarterback as long as you can without screwing yourself. And as far as the Chicago situation goes, I kind of glossed over that one. I'm just not taking either of those guys. Whatever. They are bye week 11 too, which is kind of a nightmare. It's one of the biggest bye weeks, so oftentimes you're just locked out of picking them anyway. But I want nothing to do with Chicago quarterbacks. Breida. So on my radar right now are AJ Green and CeeDee Lamb. RB is pretty thin. Like Jordan Howard a good bit. Like I said, we're not going to be able to take Madison here. We're not going to be able to take Darrington Evans because of his bye week. Keyshawn Vaughn and Zach Moss are still on the board. That's nice. I like Gibson a bit. I don't like him as much as Darrington Evans because I don't think that a Geis injury necessarily means that Gibson just stepping in there, because it could be AP. Bryce Love can get a shot. So, well, I like Gibson. He's a guy I'm not going to own that much. Thank God, AJ Green went. I don't have to pick him. So we're going to see if the Walrus kind of wrecks our day here. We could push CeeDee Lamb another round. All right, he didn't take CeeDee Lamb. So now we have the option to stack CeeDee Lamb with Dak. If I was going to take somebody else, I would be taking Jordan Howard at running back. I think I can wait around and just get like a Sony Michel or one of the pass catchers that I like. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and take the stack target here with CeeDee Lamb. So we got a little lucky there because normally we would have had to take Lamb where we took Marvin Jones, or else we just don't get him. And I just think Marvin Jones is too much better. Obviously, I mean wide receiver 2 that sometimes puts up wide receiver 1 numbers, and rookies this year are troublesome. So had I not had Dak this round, I wouldn't have considered CeeDee Lamb. I would have just started going somewhere else. But since we do value these stacks and we do value some ownership percentage, right? There's always some chance Amari Cooper has his plantar fasciitis flare up or something in preseason, and then all of a sudden Lamb's playing a much bigger role. So these are things we have to take a chance on here. Jordan Howard went the next pick. Cohen, we'll see what's left at RB on our way back. Since we got those big 3, we had the luxury of not having to terribly worry about it for a while there. So just like I said with Madison here for Dalvin Cook, because we took Chubb, we just weren't interested in Kareem Hunt. I just don't want to have them on the same one of these teams, although any team I don't have Chubb on, I'm always trying to get Hunt because Hunt's fine value on his own. But for him to hit ceiling and amazing things happen for you means something happened to Chubb, and then you don't want to have 2 draft picks that are negatively correlated like that. So you do not want handcuffs in these contests. Having one in the normal season-long 12-man league where the top 4 get paid, it's not awful. I just don't do it. I'm just anti-handcuffing when it comes to basketball. But it's debatable if it's good or bad in the regular league. I don't think it's debatable in these type of contests. You just don't want it, period. So a lot of RBs have went off the board. Let's see if there's anything even remotely interesting left. Sony Michel. That would be the qualification of the bottom of remotely interesting. Duke Johnson. Don't like it. Don't like it. So there's another guy in Houston, undrafted free agent named Scotty Phillips. If you have a chance, go check out this dude's tape. It's pretty good. And I believe he would have been drafted had he not gotten hurt his senior year, because his junior year was fantastic. He went to Ole Miss, and man, his tape popped to me. He reminded me kind of Aaron Jones, to be honest. Might not be that good, but I think Scotty Phillips definitely a guy to keep your eye on. We're not going to be drafting him in best ball at all, I don't think. So we're only talking I know I'm mostly supposed to be talking about that, but a deep dynasty guy, just Duke Johnson there caught my eye. And I think if something happened to David Johnson, that Scotty Phillips could actually rise up that depth chart and be the guy that you want, and then Duke Johnson just stay in his same role like he always seems to no matter what. So right now I'm most interested in Sony Michel. If he gets picked, I'm not too terribly interested in any running backs. Wish I didn't, I wish I could be interested in Alex Madison, but I cannot because I have Dalvin Cook. So don't do it to us, Bud Bull. Lord, what has the world come to where I'm sweating a Sony Michel pick? That's quite vomitous. He is gonna have touchdowns, I believe, and anytime you get a touchdown, you can sneak into that flex. He actually does occasionally have multi-touchdown games too, so. But yeah, definitely not exciting. Definitely, especially in this type of format, not a guy who's really making you happy. But we're going to take him anyway. We do need some semblance of floor on our team. Not something we're going to take into account all that often, but I don't think it's too bad to go for floor there. Tight end, not something we're going to be interested in anytime soon. Do have some interest in picking up Jarwin. Quarterback, I'd like to see where we're at. Carson Wentz is pretty high up on the board. Wouldn't hate getting him with some Zach Ertz. It'd be nice to have a couple stacks with Ertz and Wentz, Dak, and Lamb. We'll have to check out wide receiver 2 when it gets to our next pick, provided Wentz is even an option. Let's take a look at wide receiver right now. Let's get Mike Williams. Anthony Miller's kind of interesting to me. Preston Williams, I just absolutely love at his price. It's so crazy to me that he's going as low as he is. Love, love, love. Have him on tons of teams. Tyrell Williams is a guy I like a lot later, though. We're not on the radar right now, but Tyrell Williams is a guy I like quite a bit. I think he's going to stay a starter for the Raiders, and they have a nice schedule. I don't think you're going to see Bryan Edwards too much this season, though I do think he will eventually be the alpha there. If he does come on this year, I expect it to be later in the year. Still, he had that injury he was dealing with, and Tyrell was like wide receiver 19 or something last year before he got hurt and then started having to play through injuries. But that's for much later. Perfect world, I would get to go something like Wentz, Preston Williams. Mecole Hardman's a guy I have in my mind now as well. So I have some interest in. He could definitely have some huge weeks. So as far as John Brown and Tevin Coleman go, the guys we know have sickle cell, hearing Mark Andrews announce that he's going to play makes me a little less worried about those guys. I'm going to take Wentz here. But I still have a little bit of concern. So now that we have Dak and Wentz, we're going to try to basically push drafting our QB3 as long as we can, while still at least ending up with like a Carr or Haskins or somebody like that. Darnold, Drew Lock goes really late in these. Minshew. But we're not going to be looking at quarterback for the next bit after that. So we kind of are interested now in picking up another wide receiver. Preferably Preston Williams for me, but definitely still some other guys out there. Let's look at RB. I think Latavius Murray is somewhat interesting because he had some massive weeks when Camaro was out last year. Plus, like, week to week, he has a shot at getting a touchdown. Darrell Henderson's a little interesting. I like Justin Jackson quite a bit because I think he will fend off Joshua Kelly for that job, especially with the way this preseason's going. Ooh, Zach Moss is still there. That's one I did not expect to still be on the board. So Zach Moss, I think, is the best player still on the board, but I have a feeling that he will not get to us. QBs are flying now, which is fine with us because we got our two that we wanted, and now we wanted to duck right out of there. Zach Moss and Latavius Murray aren't like terribly different, but as far as if Singletary and Kamara are healthy, but I do think Moss has a bit more value provided the starter is healthy than Latavius does. Just because I think Moss will get a ton of goal line work. They just wanted to give the ball over and over to Gore last year, and he could never score because he's Gore. Let's see how lucky we can get here. Sweating this one a little bit. Please take a tight end. Please take a tight end. I hate when they take forever. That's when they're definitely going to snipe you. So a lot of tight ends just went off the board. Let's just take a quick glance at that position. Oh, Zach Moss. Disastrous. So Jarwin's still a ways down there. Okay, we're going to audible back to Preston Williams and Zach Moss went. That was pretty horrible for us, but well. At least we had a good plan B, which we thought was our plan A before we noticed Zach Moss was still on the board. So Preston Williams, like, whew, definitely wide receiver, 20-ish or so upside to him. Fantastic to get this late in the draft. Love him. Probably like him more than I like CeeDee Lamb, just straight up for this season. Obviously, you have a bit of a concern with the injury he's coming back from, but everything I've read said that he should be good to go for week 1, so I think we have to go based on that knowledge or assume that that's correct. Pretty interested in N'Keal Harry and Paris Campbell. Those year 2 wide receivers that don't produce year 1 oftentimes can be smashes. And both of them, had injuries and whatnot, so it's not like they just didn't do nothing for no reason. They had some reasons why they did nothing. Even though we have Dak, I'm not terribly interested in Jarwin right off. Cam Newton, good pick by Westerwood. So yeah, I'm mainly looking at wide receiver, but let's glance back at RB again. I like Justin Jackson quite a bit, but this is a little too early for that. Don't mind Benny Snell. I think if Connor goes down, he's going to be pretty good. I know a lot of people are into Anthony McFarland, but I think his role will just kind of stay the same. I like Damian Harris a good bit, but I want someone that's going to have a little more week-to-week value before taking a guy like that. Darrell Henderson's still on the board. It's pretty interesting. Everyone's just like handing Cam Akers like the full 3-down role in the Rams and taking him over like Dobbins and some dynasty leagues and stuff, which I just think is craziness. But I'm not giving the full load to Akers. I actually think Malcolm Brown's even going to still be involved and get his 4 to 6 touchdowns. He's pretty good on the goal line. And everyone's looking at the touchdown totals for the carries for Gurley in the red zone and automatically giving them all to Akers. I don't think that's the case. Plus, Goff only had a 3.5% touchdown rate on his throws last year, and that's bound to go up. He had a 5.7 and 5.9 the 2 years before. So I think that Goff's touchdowns will go back up and return to pretty much normal, therefore dropping the running back touchdowns by a decent bit. And then I think also with dropping a decent bit, I think it's going to be split up between Akers and Malcolm Brown. And then I think Henderson will be in there getting some pass catching as well as Akers. So I just don't think that running back situation is as clear as most people seem to. So we do have Justin Jackson as an option here, which I'm not in love with taking him just yet. We do still have Darrell Henderson. It's a guy I've taken like almost none of. And it's guaranteed to get some sort of work. So he doesn't bye week conflict with us too much. He is the same as Nick Chubb. So what would I be passing on a wide receiver if I took him? I would be passing on N'Keal Harry. I think I'd rather take Harry and wait another round. Yeah. So Harry's a guy I just really like the upside for this year. Do realize he was a giant pile of poop last year, but new quarterback. Brady basically wanted nothing to do with him last year. He was hurt. Brady didn't want to throw to him. And I think he's going to have a chance to have one of those big bounce back second years. DJ Chark basically did nothing his first year and was left for dead. And then we all saw what happened last year. If you watched my videos last year, we had tons and tons of round 18 DJ Chark, a guy I liked quite a bit. Ended up with him on some dynasty teams, which was nice. So the old videos are on this channel. So anyone that wants to go back and check out some of these claims I'm making from last year, feel free. Check out some of the older videos. But we'll be trying to do these like twice a week or so for the next bit. I know they're kind of long, but there's not too much you can do about that, and the important strategy comes at the end. So far for our stacking, we're still a little bit interested in Blake Jarwin, but it's not something we got to do. I don't think I'm going to take Jarwin if one of the 2 running backs I had interest in is still there. So we're hoping one of Darrell Henderson or Justin Jackson makes it to us. Darrell Henderson goes, we might consider not taking Justin. There goes Darrell Henderson. So we don't have to take Justin Jackson this early. AJ Dillon I like a bit too, but I kind of feel like he's like in a similar situation where there's 3 dudes there. Joshua Kelly, not too huge on him. It's going to be pretty tough for him to beat out Justin Jackson week 1. Justin Jackson was like leading the NFL in yards per carry, although he didn't get very many carries because he got hurt. But was notable. He did well when he was in there. Cool, Jarwin went off the board, so that shuts us down on that option. But that's okay. Justin Jefferson, probably my favorite rookie wide receiver for just this year. I do like Ruggs a decent bit in best ball, but not best ball. I do think if Justin Jackson's there when we pick, I'm going to reach slightly on him. I tend to pick him around later than this. But running back seems extra thin. It's probably, I'm not used to doing the 12 teams now that I've been doing so many 10-teamers. If I get him, I will feel like I don't have any like pure handcuffs. So, as much as I despise handcuffing, if you get into the like super, super late rounds, then it's not nearly as bad. Like, for example, we have Sony Michel, right? So I'm not going to reach to handcuff with Damian Harris, but say 2 rounds from now, if Damian Harris is still on the board, which I don't expect to happen, it might not be in the worst situation then, right? Because you're turning your 12th or 13th round pick and your 16th round pick into one pick. Still would like to avoid it if I can. I'm going to take Justin Jackson here. But we're running out of like reasonable options at running back. Could take Benny Snell instead, and he's like a similar type of situation to Damian Harris. Like the problem with Damian Harris is you don't even know that it's Damian Harris, right? It could be freaking Rex Burkhead if Sony goes out, or some conglomeration of like 3 to 4 people. Fortunately, we've blocked by week 7, which takes away my favoriteest handcuff in Darrington Evans because I feel like he'll have his PPR value. Plus, if something were to happen to Derrick Henry, then he would probably be the main dude there. I don't see why he wouldn't be. Lynn Bowden. Slightly interesting. Heem Hines is like an okay, like PPR only back. Pretty thinned out there. Let's take a look at tight end. Still Irv, Herndon, Ebron, Sternberger, Dawson Knox. I don't hate like Eifert, but I'm not trying to have Tyler Eifert on my team. But in these 20 rounders, you're going to end up with some people on your team you do not like. Let's glance at the QBs real quick, see how thin we've been there. Still have Burrow, who we can't really take. Tannehill, Bridgewater. Jared Goff, I just absolutely love the value on him. We're not taking him because he's by week 9, which seems Carson. So definitely can hang out and wait a while on quarterback still. There's still like Phillip Rivers and Carr and Haskins. So quarterback not what we're going to be picking up here. Doesn't seem like there's like anything to really like go after here at RB. Definitely would rather wait longer and just take a shot on somebody. AJ Dillon's somewhat interesting. I guess if we just really don't like anything at wide receiver, we could go for him. I like Paris Campbell, but I'd like to take him around later. Still Ayuk and all these guys. Love Steve Sims. Still him. All right. I'll go for it. I'll take a shot on AJ Dillon. We've seen Aaron Jones get hurt a few times, and now I don't have to, be taking Damian Harris because he's the only value on the board when I don't really want to be handcuffing him to Sony, especially since we don't even know if he's the handcuff. We're going to try to avoid handcuffing. So we've got our running backs all done. So I'm only drafting 6. We have 6. Our 6 are Dalvin Cook, Nick Chubb, Leonard Fournette, Sony Michel, Justin Jackson, and A.J. Dillon. I like that group. Obviously Michel, Jackson, and Dillon aren't the strongest, but our top 3 are very strong. And at least between Jackson, Dillon, and Michel, you should be getting guys that are going to get touches every week. The most risky one is Dillon, but they took him so early that I got to think that they're going to try to get him ahead of Jamal Williams as fast as they can. Wow, that's pretty early for Phillip Rivers. So I do feel like A.J. Dillon will have touches, and he could get, red zone touches, which would be great. I realize Aaron Jones was hyper efficient in that part of the game, and there's no reason for them to be giving those touches to A.J. Dillon, but then there was no reason for them to really be drafting A.J. Dillon when they drafted him. So I'm not going to pretend to know what's going to happen there. I'm just being open-minded to the fact that A.J. Dillon could get touches down there, even though I think it's a terrible idea because NFL teams do things sometimes that we think are terrible ideas. So running back's all done. Quarterback, I'm going to have to kind of start keeping an eye on because people are getting a little wild here. Apparently everyone is on the 3 QB path. So let's see if another 1 or 2 or 3 go before our pick because there's 4 left that I kind of have interest in, and that's it. If all 4 of those were to go, we'd be kind of hosed. Like I said, we gotta kind of play chicken a bit with the quarterback situation. It is rough. So one of the things I like to look at when I'm down here is like, do I have anybody that I can stack with one of these quarterbacks already? Like already have the player, and I don't think there is. I don't have Chark. Don't have anybody from Denver. Oakland, at least Tyrell Williams goes like pretty late, so that's still an option with Carr. And then Haskins obviously gets Steve Sims usually pretty late, or Gandy Golden is now on my radar, so oh boy, this is going to be tight, folks. All right, Steve Sims going around 17 now. Interesting. So it looks like I'm going to be picking between a Lock and Carr. Unless Bud Bull takes one, then I'm just taking whoever he doesn't take out of the 2. I don't want Miami or Chicago quarterbacks or Chargers, and that's all that's left other than Lock or Carr. So one of the guys you can take super light in these that I like a bit is Hamler, who goes with Lock, and then got Tyrell Williams, who goes with Carr. I think I've taken more Carr lately than I have Lock, so I think I'll take Lock if I have the choice between the 2. Ooh, he took Tyrod. So Lock or Carr? I'm going to take Lock here. I have not taken very much Lock. So important he doesn't conflict with our bye weeks for Dak or Wentz, which is nice. Like, in my opinion, Bud Bull should not be taking Tyrod there. He should be taking either Lock or Carr. Because, like, what if Tyrod only plays 4 weeks and then he's not available as a bye week option for your other quarterbacks, and then one guy goes COVID and you're down to 1 quarterback and you're taking all his shitty weeks plus you're taking a 0 on his bye week? Not for me. So we are going to put in the back of our head that we can take a late flyer on KJ Hamler because we have Lock. I mean, Hamler's a guy I would consider anyway when we get to the super, super late point, but it's definitely better to take that sort of a home run type of dude when you have his quarterback. So you'll get a huge double TD when he does score one of those. So we still need 2 wide receivers and 2 tight ends. I imagine tight end to start got to be starting to get thin. For wide receivers, let's take a look real quick. Tyrell Williams, I like. Corey Davis is like whatever. What are our bye weeks looking like for wide receivers? So we've got 2 bye week 10s, and we don't have 2 of anything else, so we don't really have to worry about anything there. Tight ends, I like Irv Smith a decent amount. I like Chris Herndon. I like Jay Sternberger. Guy got pretty good value on Derek Carr there. He fell longer than I expected. People are finally catching on to Tyrell a little bit. He was often going undrafted when I drafted 18 rounds unless I took him. Gerald Everett, huh? Boy, poor Paris Campbell's still on the board for us. All right. So I think we're going to go. I do like Paris Campbell quite a bit more than Pittman for just this year. I think I'm going to go Paris Campbell and then see what happens at tight end after. Like I said, I haven't done a 12-person 20-rounder yet, so I'm a little interested to see what those last 2 rounds are looking like. It's going to be guys I'm not used to having to pick from. So some of my super deep guys, I did like make a couple notes here because I knew the situation was going to come up that I kind of like. Now I like Gandy Golden a decent amount now that Harmon's out of the picture. Dorsett in Seattle is okay, but they've been linked to Antonio Brown, so I really want to stay away from him. Kendrick Bourne is like kind of nice for San Francisco because he's a touchdown dude. He's 9 touchdowns in his 2 years, between the 2 years. So I do think he's pretty interesting because like anytime you just score a touchdown, you're shot to be a flex play in this. Who else super deep? JJ Arcega-Whiteside, Chase Claypool, But we're just trying to name some names here for your last round. Yeah, we had Gandy Golden. Duvernay from Baltimore, but that's like the super deepest, and I try to only do it if he's like a second stack piece for Lamar. Boykin, I like a bit more, but he might have been taken already. I think he goes a little earlier. Higgins is a guy I like a good bit that people don't seem to be into. I think he's going to be in the 3-man rotation for the wide receivers there. I think it'll be Green, Higgins, and Tyler Boyd. I think I wouldn't be surprised if John Ross ends up getting traded, although with the COVID and everything going on, there's a chance they could be a little more interested in hanging on to him this year. So we still have 4 rounds left. Still have to take 2 more wide receivers and 2 more tight ends. There goes Pittman. Darrington Evans, great pick for this person. Wish I could have taken him. Round 18, he's just so good. You're getting a little bit of a floor from him. You're getting this monster ceiling. But we avoided him this time because we already had 2 by week 7 running backs. So the curse of Leonard Fournette rages on. But that's all right anyway because I can't have my ownership percentage on Darrington Evans. He's speaking pretty high. I want to check out some of the teams and see if they have if anyone has a really bad roster construction. But let's make our pick first. I see the tight ends are starting to get real thin. So as long as I get a Sternberger or Dawson Knox here, I won't be too horrified. But oof, Dawson Knox was here. We are in a rough shape. Kyle Rudolph's the guy I still like just fine in these, but I'm going to be into the Greg Olsen, Will Dissly area here in a second. Whew, thank you. Right, Dawson Knox is one of the last guys I'm comfortable with as my tight end too. Dude's super talented. How much will the opportunity be? It's hit or miss, but at this point in the draft, you just got to take the talented people, and I think Dawson Knox is way up there. So some super deep tight ends I don't mind taking a shot on are guys like Drew Sample and Fells from Houston, Dan Arnold in Arizona. Westerwood takes Tua. So let's see what people have for if anything stands out as a poor roster construction. I'm trying to highlight this person to see what their teams. There we go. So that's pretty standard. This guy only has 4 running backs right now. That's going to be rough for him. This guy has 7 running backs. It's more than I would take. And only 2 quarterbacks, 2 tight ends. So he's really going to be hurting at his third in both positions, if he even takes thirds. Roster construction's looking pretty standard here. I don't know if like what I'm doing is considered standard. That might be the same person. That's that Westerwood person. I like some of his picks, but I definitely don't like only having 4 running backs at this point. So back to us. Is there anything mildly interesting to us at tight end? I am mildly interested in Kyle Rudolph as well as Greg Olsen and Will Dissly. Tyler Eifert, a little bit. I don't really love Kyle Rudolph, but they're going to have to play 2 tight ends, right? Like the only thing that makes sense for Minnesota to do is to put Irv and Rudolph and Justin Jefferson and Thielen out there because their other wide receivers just ain't that good. Tajay Sharp is neat. Olabisi like not the worst, but he's nothing special. And Kyle Rudolph, catches touchdowns. The only going to have is 30-something catches, but again, just kind of looking for a guy that can score here. So I'm going to go ahead and take him. Let's go with Zach Ertz and Dawson Knox. Hopefully Zach Ertz will pretty much just be leading the charge for us there. And if he goes down, unless Dawson Knox really steps up, we're going to be screwed at tight end, but that's all right. In this thing, you're going to have to assume some of your people stay healthy because it's the only way you're going to really have a shot at this whole thing, winning the whole thing. So let's go back to wide receiver and see what shots we can take here. KJ Hamler is definitely a guy I'm interested in to go with lock. Whew, it's getting thin. Don't hate Sanu. Chris Conley's kind of bleh. I actually like Danny Amendola a decent bit in full PPR. Randall Cobb and Cole Beasley are both not terrible. Let's glance back at our wide receivers and make sure we don't have any bye week issues. So we have 2 bye week 10s, so we need to avoid that. Other than that, we are clear sailing. Logan Thomas. No, I don't trust any of that Washington tight end situation at all. I don't know if it's going to be Sprinkle Thomas or somebody else. So, gotta think if Njoku gets traded, it's got to be there, right? Where else could he go? Cleveland might just not trade him at all. So, Cleveland could sure use some wide receiver help. I'm not a fan of their wide receiver 3 options and Rashard Higgins and Donovan People-Jones. So we have our eye on Hamler, and then we don't mind guys like Amendola, Funchess, Sanu, Beasley, Wilson. Just kind of hoping not to get skanked on Hamler. So this hasn't been too bad as far as getting sniped. We did get the one kind of savage Zach Moss sniping, but other than that, we got the DJ Moore one too, right? That was pretty brutal. But I mean, the Zach Moss one's felt worse because we didn't even know he was on the board there because I was talking and scrolled through some players, found him, was like nice, and then nope, denied. Jalen Richard, just a little worried that he's not going to get the pass catching work now that Bowden's there, but who knows what's going to happen with that. Boykin's a fine enough pick in these super late rounds. He had 7 targets or something in their final playoff game there against the Titans. Not that means that much, but I mean, at least he's a guy that got involved there. Njoku could be a good pick, could be a terrible pick. All right, we're going to take our Hamler here. Pair him up with a lock. And we at least have one stack piece with every quarterback, right? We've got Locke and Hamler, we've got Wentz and Ertz, and we've got Prescott and CeeDee Lamb. Yeah, this Prescott's been a bit of a conundrum for me because I really love his value. Like getting him in round 6 just feels so much better than getting Mahomes or Jackson in round 3. But it's always so hard to stack him, especially because I hate taking Amari Cooper where you have to take him. I'm just like always smashing DJ Moore there. I probably have enough ownership on DJ Moore now that I could stop always taking him there, but I just like him so much more than I like Amari Cooper. Cooper does have those massive boom bust weeks, which are kind of nice in best ball. Just kind of scrolling back through, looking at some roster constructions again. Person with just 2 tight ends. Person with 4 quarterbacks. Ew. What that guy's team looks like. Did he like double up 2 of the? No. Ugh, he has 2 by week 11 quarterbacks too. Yeah, this is not for me. I don't know why. I don't know why you would take 4 quarterbacks. It does give you like a slight advantage in some ways, but it's like pretty hard. Pretty hard for like Darnold to sneak in there and have the best week of those 4 people ever. Definitely don't like that. I wonder who the guy was at the turn there that took the 2 tight ends right off the bat. I'd like to see what his team ended up like. It's not him. So it must be this guy, Stone Dead. Yeah, this is the guy who took just Kelsey and Kittle. Obviously didn't take any more tight ends, which is all right, I guess. But woo, his running backs are fairly atrocious. All right, it's on us. Seems like a pretty clear Amendola for me. Great floor guy. Probably get hurt, but I do have Marvin Jones on this team. It's not fantastic, but whatever. All right, I'm not looking at my team. We got 38 seconds. All right, so yeah, we do have Marvin Jones, but we don't have any other bye week 5. So, all right, we'll do that. Will we do that? All right, so our draft is done. So yeah, that guy that went double tight end on the turn there ended up with a horrific running back group. He has like Cam Akers, James Conner, and then a bunch of nothing. So whatever you do, folks, do not do that in this format because you are not only playing against these people in this league. You're playing against absolutely everyone that's doing these drafts. It's going to be really, really hard to start your draft with 2 tight ends and finish up near the top. So his running back crew is Connor and Akers, then Tony Pollard, who could be great if Zeke goes down, Edmonds, who can be really good if Drake goes down, Hyde and Penny, who even knows who's going to be healthy and how much they're going to play out of this group, Giovanni Bernard, who I think is like an absolute nothing this year. I think they're going to try to give his work to Trevion Williams, and I think if Mixon were to go down, Rodney Anderson, if he somehow was healthy, would take up the mantle. So I'm not too into Giovanni Bernard. All right, folks, so that's pretty long, and I hope you enjoyed. And I'll try to get the website up soon and have a link to that. I will link the Best Ball Zero Tight End Strategy Guide from last year in this video. Have a good one.